Hello everyone, today we're going to be covering the Linux Threat Detection 3 Premium Room. It's a premium room from TryHackMe, and we're going to be covering the last stages of attacks on Linux, and we're going to learn how they look in system logs. Also, my name is Joshua Spieshak. I'm a cybersecurity analyst and Blue Team content creator. So let's get started with Task 1, Introduction. Awesome. Alright, not all Linux attacks are simple SSH brute force or crypto mining. Some are carefully planned, targeted campaigns comparable to most advanced Windows breaches. In this room, you'll delve into more complex manual Linux attack techniques commonly seen in targeted intrusions and learn how to detect them using system logs. Also, here's our learning objectives here. We're going to learn how reverse shells are used in Linux intrusions. We're going to understand how the attackers escalate the privileges. We're going to explore the 5 most common techniques to persist on Linux, and we're going to uncover the learned techniques through the system logs. Now, here's a prerequisites right here. We're going to complete the Linux Threat Detection 2 room. I have a walkthrough on my YouTube channel for this room, but here is the room itself. So if you want a really nice and fun walkthrough, head over to my YouTube channel, JOSHUA space SPSHOCK. And type and look for the Linux Threat Detection 2, and you'll see the walkthrough. But if you wanted to see like the learning objectives and prerequisites, here it is. There's overall the threat detection rooms from TryHackMe. They're really fun, and highly recommend checking out any walkthroughs and also my walkthroughs as well. Awesome. All right, recall the second half of the MITRE tactics. So we can open that in a new tab. Awesome. All right, explore the various resources that MITRE has made available to the cybersecurity community. Awesome. Also, this is a premium room, so keep this in mind if you wanted to get the premium or max subscription. But from a quality and overall concept-wise, these rooms are awesome. Again, it's completely optional to get a premium or max subscription. However, if you want to access the premium or max rooms, you'll need to get a subscription. But the one resource that I want you guys to learn from the MITRE room is the MITRE Attack Framework. Let's open that in a new tab. All right. MITRE Attack is a globally accessible knowledge base of adversary tactics and techniques based on real-world observations. Additionally, the attack knowledge base is used as a foundation for the development of specific threat models and methodologies in the private sector, in government, and in the cybersecurity product and service community. Also, attack is open and available to any person or organization for use at no charge. So if you wanted to learn more about adversary tactics and techniques based on real-world observations, highly recommend bookmarking this resource. The URL can be found here. And it's completely free. It helps you better understand how adversaries work from a tactics and techniques perspective, and this is all based on real-world observations. Also, that I mentioned is free as well. Awesome. All right, also be familiar with Bash in Linux administration. If you don't know what Bash in Linux administration is, don't worry. TryHackMe has rooms on that. So let's head over to, let me open a new tab and learn. Let's type up, let's say we want to go to walkthroughs, learn Bash. We can learn Bash scripting, Linux shells, shells overview, and a lot of other good stuff. I believe there's also administration here. Linux administration. Let me just see if I can do that. Or in general, let's just look at all the Linux rooms. Linux, and let me do subscription free. And here's all the free Linux rooms available, like learning Linux modules in a fun way. We like having fun. Like having fun. Oh yes, you get to learn these awesome commands. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, I highly recommend checking this out. It's also, okay, these are not, okay, the Bash scripting is free, so you get to learn Bash, which is really, really beneficial, so highly recommend checking this out. Also, there's a free website as well. On this website, when I was on my journey of learning Bash. Oh yes, the Bash scripting cheat sheet. Nice, so you want a cheat sheet, highly recommend using this, and here's the URL. Nice. So if you wanted to learn about Bash scripting, the room is completely free. Also, the Linux modules as well. So if I went back, yes, all these are completely free. So I highly recommend checking them out. They're going to help you better understand Linux, Bash, and much, much more. Well, actually, these ones. The ones that start with Linux. But yeah, overall, highly recommend checking out these rooms. They're going to help you better understand Linux. And overall, help you better understand these concepts that help you with understanding Linux Threat Detection 3 better. This is overall helping you prepare better for this room. All right, so that being said, lab access. Before moving forward, start the lab by clicking on the Start Lab Machine button below. We're going to do that. And the machine will start in split view and it will take about 2 minutes to load. So it's going to do its thing. In case the machine is not visible, you can click the Show Split View button at the top of the task. So we can see here. Yes, so split view. Yeah, it's going to be over here. And you may need to work as a root user for some tasks. So to do that, to switch to root on the VM, please run sudo su. And if you don't know what sudo su is, don't worry. I have two really beneficial websites. First one is Explain Shell. Spell correctly. Awesome. What Explain Shell does is that if you wanted to better understand Linux commands better, or command lines, there's some examples here. This website is awesome. So let's say, for example, we wanted to learn more about sudo su. It's going to break down the parts. So sudo, execute a command as another user, su. We want root, so we want to be execute commands as root. But also there is ss64.com. Linux. Sudo command. And this is a really another helpful beneficial resource because it's going to help you better understand what the command is, syntax, options. There's a lot of options. And examples. Oh, and also really beneficial information, command execution, environment. Yeah, and also here's the examples as well. So if you wanted to better understand Linux commands and much, much more, highly recommend the ss64.com website, as well as Explain Shell as well. Awesome. Our machine is ready to go. Sweet. And also, alternatively, you can access the VM from your own VPN connected machine with the credentials below. All right, task 1. Let's go. No answer needed. Correct answer. Awesome. And just for transparency reasons, I've already completed this room, but don't worry, I'm going to help you understand how I got the answer so that way you understand the problem solving methodology. All right, moving on to task 2, reverse shells. All right, starting off with attack convenience. Threat actors entering via SSH get a convenient terminal with colors, auto completion, and Control-C support. Copy. However, not every breach grants a fully functional terminal. When initial access happens via an exploit or a web vulnerability, the attackers may face limitations, buggy command output, execution delays and timeouts, rate limits, network restrictions, and many more. In this task, you will gain access to the TryPing app, yes, that's a thing, and see how these limitations work in practice, which we can see here. All right, here is it closely. So vulnerability allows command injection, which we can see here, and the attack limitations as well. Nice. All right, reverse shells. To combat the limitations, threat actors establish a reverse shell, which is a session from the victim to the attacker, a more convenient and often the only possible action to continue the attack. You can read about reverse shells in the shells overview room. So you click on this. You can learn more about reverse shells here. It's a premium room, so just keep that in mind. But overall, this room, I believe you're going to have lots of fun and find this room really beneficial, helping you better understand different kinds of shells, such as reverse shells. Nice. All right, but let's focus on the detection part for this task. Below are 3 of the many methods to open a reverse shell on Linux, which we can see here. Bash, Zocat, So bash, this one right here. The victim is forced to connect to 10.10.10 port 133 and launch bash for the attacker. This one, transitioning to SOCAT. SOCAT, okay, there we go. So that way you can see it better. 1337, there you go. SOCAT, alternative to the above command, the attacker is listening at 10.20.20 port 2525. And Python, not the snake, the programming language. Python alternative to the above command, the attacker is listening at 10.30.30.30 port 80. All right, detecting reverse shells. SOC typically treats reverse shells as critical alerts, as they indicate that the system has already been breached, and a human threat actor is actively attempting to establish a shell and continue the attack. Luckily, they are detectable with Audit D. Below is the log output when a SOCAT reverse shell is established after exploiting a vulnerability in a TryHackMe application. So you can see here below. All search, Audit D logs. This is awesome. All right. After the reverse shell to the attacker's IP is established, it is usually followed by discovery and other stages you learned in the previous rooms. As always, you can list all commands originated from the spawned reverse shell by building a process tree, which we can see below. We start from the detected reverse shell right here, and then we list all its child processes using grep proc title, which we can see here. All right, now, in this task, use the VM to see how TryHackMe vulnerability works in practice. We're going to access TryHackMe through your browser or the attack box on the so let me start attack box. There we go. At this IP. So once the attack box starts, we're going to use the browser in there and then access the URL. And then access the scenario audit D logs at alt-search-i-f home Ubuntu scenario audit D audit.log to answer the questions. Nice. Okay, good. Sometimes the machines can be wonky, but today I am 2 for 2. No issues so far. Awesome. I may have spoken too soon. Okay, cool. Nice. All right, give this machine time to load. Then we're going to use the attack box to answer the questions. Which is the ones here. We have a hint. Nice. Oh, and here's Echo. Welcome. I'm here to help you with real-time guidance, personalized hints, and explanations. So we click on Echo. We can ask it for help, and it's going to help us out with hints and stuff. Go unit. Very nice. All right, cool. Let's give it time. Then we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5 more tasks complete, but we're gonna have fun. It's gonna be a fun walkthrough. All right, the attack box should be ready. Yes, it is. All right, so let's use the browser, Firefox. Give it some time. Let it load. Okay, cool. And now let's type HTTP semicolon 10.66.163.104.8000. Nice. And here we got the TryHackMe website. Now we access it, and we're going to run this command to show that it's vulnerable to command injection. .1 and who am I? Ping. And we get the ping results right here. And our output that we get after the ping results is SVC TryHackMe. Let me see if I can make it easier on the eyes. That's too much. There we go. All right, next. Now try spawning a reverse shell to the imaginary attacker.thm address. Run this command in the web app, and we will get the flag returned in the TryHackMe response. So let's keep So let's do 127.0.0. Remembers. Cool. And instead of who am I, we're going to do SoCat because we want a for shell. TCP attacker .thm port 1337 execute. I believe this is a shell. All right, that'll do its thing. All right. The command you just ran would establish a SoCat reverse shell. If you're an attacker, you would first start a listener, which we can see here. And then after you run the SoCat command, you would see this. And then the flag can be found here. Very nice. Now, look at the exported ID logs at home Ubuntu scenario, in which IP spawn a similar reverse shell via the TryHackMe app. So let's go to... I believe I can just do this. And then access the scenario ID logs. All search -I -if home Ubuntu scenario on it. So it's not here. Okay, so we need to go to the cool. So it's we're going to do all search -I -if home Ubuntu scenario audit.log. Nice. All right. Now, which IP spawn a reverse shell via the TryHackMe app? So let's go look for SoCat and other commands associated with reverse shells. So in this case, I see TryHackMe and I see who am I. So let me just make it easier. Let me do grep proc title. There we go. Now I can see all the commands that run. Okay, here we go. Proc title SoCat. That means that's an indicator of a reverse shell, and our IP is 10.14.105.255, and we see our port right here, 1337. Awesome. And then got a hint. Apply additional all search filters, which we did. We use grep or score the logs to the beginning of the attack. This is the command that we ran right here. We use grep proc title to see the commands that were ran. So we can find our reverse shell and then find the IP address that spawned a similar reverse shell via the TryHackMe app. Nice. All right, moving on to task 3, privilege escalation. All right, privilege escalation basics. Another obstacle for attackers is insufficient privileges. For instance, initial access doesn't always mean a full system compromise, and web attacks and exploits often start as low privileged service users. These users can sometimes be restricted to a single folder, such as var www.html, or have no ability to download and run malware. In this case, the attackers need privilege escalation. If we wanted to learn more about privilege escalation, open this in a new tab. And what privilege escalation is that it's the adversary trying to gain higher level permissions. Additionally, privilege escalation consists of techniques that adversaries use to gain higher level permissions on a system or network. Adversaries can often enter and explore a network with unprivileged access, but require elevated permissions to follow through on their objectives. Common approaches are to take advantage of system weaknesses, misconfigurations, and vulnerabilities. Examples of elevated access include system root level, local administrator, user account with admin-like access, and user accounts have access to specific system or perform specific function. And these techniques often overlap with persistent techniques, as OS features that let an adversary persist can execute in elevated context. Nice. Yeah, minor attack is awesome. All right. Which can be achieved through various techniques. For example, to get to the root user, the threat actors may do this. Our preceding discovery, rediscovery, and then we see escalation right here, such as when an exploit like PwnKit, use the SUID vulnerability to get root access, and try using the file to get root access. So this basically means that sometimes the attackers would have insufficient privileges, and in order to get a higher level of privileges, they would need privilege escalation. This is some of the techniques that a threat actor would do privilege escalation. All right, now detecting privilege escalation. There you go. Detecting privilege escalation might be tricky because of how different it can be. For instance, there are hundreds of SUID misconfigurations and thousands of software vulnerabilities. And to learn more about the hundreds of SUID misconfigurations and thousands, all right, here we go. D2FO bins a security list of Unix-like executables that can be used to bypass local security restrictions in misconfigured systems. The project collects legitimate functions of Unix-like executables that can be used to get that break out restricted shells, escalate and maintain elevated privileges, transfer files, spawn bind and reverse shells, and facilitate in other post-exploitation tasks. All credit goes to the authors of this amazing resource and much, much more. So, please note that this is not a list of exploits. How to live off the land when you can only have certain executables available. So, this is a really awesome website to help you better understand Unix-like executables that can be used to bypass local security restrictions in misconfigured systems. I highly recommend checking out this resource and much, much more. And it's completely free, and let's just pick one. Let's say, for example, we wanted to look at, let's say, 7Z. There we go. You can see more information right here. This is awesome. I highly recommend checking out this awesome resource, and all credit goes to the authors of this and the contributors as well. And here's the GitHub repo that you can access to view all the resources and much, much more. But again, all credit goes to them. All right. Thus, a more universal approach would be to detect the surrounding events. For example, review the attack below, which has just 3 steps: discovery, privilege escalation, and exfiltration after the root access is gained. So, detection 1, a spike discovery commands, which we can see here with UMI, ID, psawk, and uname. Next, detection 2, a download to temp directory, which we can see here. And detection 3, data exfiltration with SCP, which you can see here, and also the comments to help you better understand the commands as well. Very nice. All right, even if you don't know the exact mechanics of the PwnKit exploit, you can still detect anomalies using more common attack indicators. After spotting suspicious activity, you can confirm whether privilege escalation is exceeded by comparing the effective user before and after the exploit. If the users defer, the attacker gained elevated privileges, like an example below. And okay, so I can't. There you go. PwnKit was launched by a server's user. Look at the UID field, which we can see here. The PwnKit spawner a root shell. Look at the UID field here. And finally, the threat actor continues the attack as root user. Very nice screenshots and much more. All right, continue with the TryHackMe scenario and find out what followed the reversed shell. So we want to go back to our TryHackMe scenario and find out what happened, what followed after the reverse shell. So we're going to go back to our audit log. We're going to answer these questions. All right, which command line was used to look for the pass keyword in files? So we're going to bring up all search -i -if home Ubuntu scenario audit.log, and then we're going to pipe this grep pass, so we can look for anything that contains the pass keyword. Nice. You can see here, and we see a command line that was used to look for the pass keyword in files, grep-ir pass. If you don't know what grep is, don't worry. Let me help you better understand it. So grep. Let me do this. Grep. All right, what grep does is that it searches files for specific text. Example is here. And also there's two variants as well. The options, environment variables, exit status, and examples as well. Yeah, overall, highly recommend the ss64.com website. And to better understand grep, it searches files for specific text, like this example here. An example that we're doing that I just did as well, grep pass. And our command line is going to be grep-ir pass. That's going to be our answer. Also, we can use explain shell grep dash. I believe the R is capitalized. Yes, it is. Shell .ir pass. Yes. Print lines that match patterns. IR ignore case. I is the ignore case. And R is recursive. Read all files under each directory recursively and follow all symbolic links. So we're looking for anything that contains the keyword pass with grep. So that's going to be our command line. Awesome. Now, which command line was used to escalate privileges to root? So again, let's use grep. And instead, let's look for root instead. Okay, we can see a lot of... All right, we see su root. Let's see what that is. Let's see su root. All right, run a command to substitute user and group ID. In this case, we want to run a command with root. So I believe this is going to be our answer. Nice. And looking at the detected.env file, what was the root password? If it hit. Remember that the attacker is in the opt try-ping-me folder. Navigate there and read the file. All right, let's do that. So let's go to command line, do cd dash opt dash try-ping-me. Oh. ls main.py .env file. What's the root password? There, every file main.py. Okay, so can I do cat main.py? And what was the root password? I do not see a root password. I just see main.py. Let me just do exit. Let me do. Oh, I got a better idea. Let me do cd. And then we just do us. cd scenario. Us. Autolog. Let me try alt search. Audit.log, but instead of root, let's see if this works. .env. EV. I meant .env. There we go. All right. Local cat.env local. Let's see what that does. Cat.env local. So it's saying that we need to navigate to the opt.pingme app file folder. Let's go do that. Yes. cd templates. Next.html. All right, what am I missing? Let me just double check my logic, because I believe I am close. To the answer gripped. Oh. Oh shit. All right, I know what to do. CD. CD. RS. No, CD. Not CD. CD scenario. LS. Cat audit dot log. Go. Grep dot env. Nice. Env local. Oh, and then we need to use the TryHackMe app. That's why. That's right. Now we got env local. That's our file. And then we do 127. And then I believe it is cat.env.local. Ping. And there we go. We got ping. And then it runs some stuff. Run the app from this user, root. And here's our password. Here's our root password. Awesome. Our next, task 4, startup persistence. All right, now persistence in Linux. Standalone Linux servers can run for years without a single reboot and are often left untouched unless something breaks. Some threat actors rely on it and do not rush to establish persistence. To learn more about persistence, we can see it here, which is the adversary trying to maintain their foothold, and persistence consists of techniques that adversaries use to keep access to systems across restarts, change credentials, and other interruptions that could cut off their access. Techniques used for persistence include any access, action, or configuration changes that let them maintain their foothold on systems, such as replacing or hijacking legitimate code or adding startup code. So overall persistence is when the adversary is trying to maintain their foothold. However, those aiming for long-term access often set up one or two additional backdoors. As in Windows, there are many ways threat actors persist on Linux, so let's start with the most common ones. So starting off with cron persistence. Cron jobs are like scheduled tasks in Windows. They are the simplest way to run a process on schedule and the most popular persistence method. For example, as a part of a big espionage campaign, APT29 deployed a fully functional malware named GoldMax. You can see it with this CrowdStrike blog post. You like learning, so lots of helpful resources. Oh yeah, a cron job was created with a reboot line, so the GoldMax binary would execute again upon system reboot. Additionally, the threat actor used the no-hit-up command to ignore any hang-up signals, and the process would continue to run even if the terminal session was terminated. Awesome. All right, to ensure the malware survives a reboot, they added a new line to the victim's cron job file located at var spoon cron user. Another example is Rocky Crypto Miner. After exploiting vulnerabilities in public-facing services like Redis or PHPMyAdmin, Rocky downloads the crypto mining script from pastebin and installs it as a etc cron.d root cron job. If you can see this red canary post, you can see it right here. And no. Nice. So cool. And note this part right here, which means the script will be re-downloaded every 10 minutes, likely to quickly restore its files in case the IT team accidentally deletes them. All right, systemd persistence. Systemd services host the most critical system components. Nowadays, DNS, SSH, and nearly every web service are organized as separate .service files located at lib systemd system or etc systemd system folders. With root privileges, you can make your own services, as can the threat actors. For example, the Sandroom group once created a cloud online service to enable its go-getter malware to run a reboot, and we can see that with this Mandiant report. here. And I believe go getter malware to run on reboot. There we go. Go getter. When leveraging go getter, Sambrew utilize a systemd service unit to maintain persistence on systems. A systemd service unit allows for a program to be run under certain conditions. And in this case, it was used to execute the go getter binary on reboot. And we can see here a simplified content of libsystemd systemcloud-online.service file. Now detecting persistence. In this room, let's focus on detecting the moment attackers establish persistence. Both cron jobs and systemd services are defined as simple text files, which means you can monitor them for changes using audit D. Yay! In addition, persistence can be detected by tracking the creation of related processes, specifically cron tab for managing cron jobs and systemctl for managing services. We can monitor changes in cron job files, such as etc cron tab, and much more here. We can also monitor changes in systemd folders, and we can monitor related processes such as nano, cron tab, systemctl. Awesome. All right, now detecting persistence with audit D. Starting with this, you can look for file changes inside etc systemd. Next one, for all search-i-x cron tab, we can look for execution of the cron tab command. So in this task, we're going to try to detect two persistent methods by using audit D logs. All search-i, for example. Once detected, launch the persistent malware, which can be found here, and get your flag. Note, you might need to switch to root for this task by running sudo su. So let's get started. And we have a hint. What flag did you get after running the malware persisting as a service? So find the malicious service with audit D and then read the service file to identify the malware location. Awesome. Look at this scenario. Yes. Audit log. What we want to do is find the service. I believe it's going to be here. All right, so systemd. So all search -i -f etc systemd. Let's look for any system file changes. You can see there's a lot. Okay. Malware. So let me see if I can do grep. Malware. See if this works. Permission denied. Okay, so sudo su. There we go. And now let's do all search -i -f etc systemd grep malware. Okay, what am I missing? Oh, okay. What if I just do systemd? There we go, and try to find. Oh, we see our service tux.service. So let's see if that's our answer. All right, so now we want to get, which we did. Now we want to see the file. There we go. Or is it? Execute start. Okay, so now we go to that. So I believe we just do var lib miscellaneous tux because we're at root. Var lib miscellaneous tux. Oh, I know what to do. We found the file and location. Let's go back to scenario. CD S CD / scenario. Okay, never mind. Exit. Let's go back. There we go. Scenario. I was in root. Now we're in Ubuntu. Regular user. And to check this, make sure we're not root. Who am I? Ubuntu. Nice. So that's due now. CD. CD. Okay, no. Var lib miscellaneous tux. Nice. Because that's the found it. And now where did I persist? Example folder name service. We found you in the tux service. So I believe that it's going to be etc systemd system / tux.service, which is correct. Nice. etc system d system and then tux.service. Awesome. Hidden penguin is our flag. That's fun. All right, next. Use audit D to figure out which Chrome file was changed and then open it to identify the malware location. So the flag did we get after running the malware persisting as a cron job. Then now we want to look at cron jobs. So I believe we're going to now use cron tab. All right, cool. So let's go exit. New scenario. Okay, in this case, we're going to go look at cron jobs. So let's go to CD. I believe it is etc cron tab. Yes, etc. Oh, cron job files. Then we want to see the files. So cd etc cron.d. Go. And then we want to get the flag. Run.d. And now let's list all the stuff. Tab -L. Cool. So what that did was that we can monitor related processes such as this, and we also can monitor changes in the cron job files, which we can see here. Cool. And we see a reboot for user Espin Phoenix. See reboots as well. So next, since we got SBN Penguin, let's see what that is. Let's do USR SBN Phoenix. All right, good job finding me. Where did I persist? The folder, the cron file, it is going to be etc cron dot. Oh no, file. Var spoon cron tab. Yeah, cron tab, which we can see here. Nice. And then it's going to be var spool cron tabs, then root. It's got a very long name. All right, let's see if this works. Var spool, then cron cron tabs, because we're doing cron, then root. Nice. THM resurrect on reboot. That's because we needed to switch to root for this task. So cool. We got our flags. That's fun. All right, now task 5, account persistence. The previous task was mainly about making the malware survive a reboot, but what about persistent access? As an attacker, you might want to return to the victim in a month to steal more data, but don't leave any malware there. How can you maintain access without malware? It all depends on how you entered in the first place. For instance, new user account. If SSH is exposed, the attackers may create a new user account, add it to a privileged group, and you then use it for further SSH logins. The detection is simple too, as you can track the user creation events to authentication logs and then reconstruct the full process tree with audit D by starting with all search-i-ppid 27254 for the example below. Yeah, process tree analysis, it's awesome and super helpful. Yay. All right, now backdoor SSH keys. Another account persistence method is to backdoor the SSH keys of one of the users and use them for virtual logins instead of a password. You already encountered this in the Linux Threat Detection 2 room, where Dota 3 malware added its key to the breached user. This technique is difficult for IT to spot, as malicious keys can blend with legitimate ones. For example, below, we can see where the attacker is adding an SSH backdoor to the authorized keys, and it's hard to guess which key is a backdoor right here. Right now, by default, authorized SSH public keys are stored in each user's this file. So your best detective method is to monitor changes to these files using audit D. Note that relying on process creation events is ineffective since there are numerous ways to modify SSH keys, some of which aren't properly traced with audit D. For example, this will not be logged as echo as a shell built in here. It's logged simply as bash. Nice. Now finally, application persistence. Imagine a WordPress website where the web admin account has been breached. With admin privileges, the attackers can add a backdoor, which we can see here, as an example, to the web shell and run commands to the backdoor. No cron jobs or SSH keys required. Moreover, because the persistence lives in the application layer, audit D and system logs often never see it. While app level persistence is beyond the scope of this room, you should be aware that it's a possible and common scenario. If you've verified all possible persistent techniques, but malware somehow reappears after some time, one of your public facing apps might be compromised, and we can see more information here as an example. Now detect 2 more persistent methods on the VM, backdoored user and SSH keys. You can use audit D, author-i, and authentication logs to answer the questions you can see here. Now, which user was created and added to sudo group? We're going to review the auth.log, and we're going to use this awesome command. So let's do, all right, cd. There we go. Nice. All right, cd var no cat, because we want to see everything in the auth.log. So cat var log off.log, and then we're going to grep for mention of user add or user modification. User add. You did not see that. Add user mod. There we go. And we can see that a user Koshi was added to the sudo group. That's going to be our answer. And now, which file was changed to allow SSH key persistence? Audit D. And with audit D, we can use, we can use all search. There we go. All search -i. So we're going to do all search -i -f /.ssh /authorized keys. There we go. And we can see here information that the attacker was doing stuff. All right, cool. So the file is going to be SSH authorized keys. Root authorized keys. Nice. I think they were at root. Yeah, so they were at root. So I need to change to root. So sudo su. Then do all search -i -f .ssh /authorized keys. There we go. Now we can see more information about authorized keys and much more. So our answer is going to be root SSH authorized keys. Nice. All right, now task 6, targeted attacks in recap. In the Linux threat detection room, you have explored hack and forget attacks, such as crypto miner infections. They're automated, do not care about who the victim is, and rarely employ tactics like privilege escalation. However, there can be more complex and more devastating attacks that target specific companies or governments. That's where you would need the learned techniques the most. Now, Linux as entry point. Linux machines are commonly deployed as firewalls, web servers, mail servers, or other public-facing services. Even in organizations where 99% of the infrastructure is Windows-based, a single compromised Linux server can open the door to a corporate network and result in a big impact. That's why, as a SOC analyst, not the clothing, SOC Security Operations Center analyst, you need to know how to secure all popular operating systems. Example below of what? Of how an attacker would breach an internet-facing Linux server. Linux espionage. Linux machines can store sensitive information or be used in mission-critical networks, and thus they're often targeted by state-sponsored threat groups. For example, in this espionage campaign, which we can see here, so we click on it, you can see more about the article in Springtail. New Linux backdoor added to toolkit. Kimsukti ATP installed a backdoor on multiple important Linux targets. Interestingly, they use systemd serves persistence, which is a technique you already know can be found here. All right, now Linux and ransomware. Linux ransomware is on the rise. You can see here. For more information, we are rolling with the resources, so highly recommend checking this out. With hypervisors becoming a prime target, imagine the case. Your company runs hundreds of Windows VMs, all sitting on just 3 Linux physical servers, hypervisors. If those hypervisors aren't properly secured, all corporate VMs are at risk. And for a real-world example of how attackers breach hypervisors, we can check out the Veronic's article, which we can find here for more information. Yes. So I recommend checking this out. And we can see a screenshot right here of how hypervisors would be breached. And now finally, threat detection recap. Let's go. After completing the Linux threat detection rooms, I have walkthroughs on Linux threat detection 1, 2, and 3, but also the Linux login for SOC rooms. So if you want to check out those walkthroughs, I highly recommend checking out my YouTube channel, TryHackMe SPESHOCK. You'll see my YouTube channel and you will see the walkthroughs there. Again, JOSHUA space SPESHOCK. You'll see my walkthroughs for Linux threat detection 1, 2, and 3, as well as the Linux logging for SOC. Also, you should understand that Linux systems can be complex, but also critical assets to protect. Fortunately, now you can identify the risks and spot the most common techniques across the minor attack matrix, which can be found here. And here's a quick recap of what you learned so far, highlighted in yellow. You learned a lot, but this is really awesome learning and really beneficial information. All right, now let's go answer some questions. Does Linux ransomware exist and impact organizations worldwide? Our answer is going to be yay, which we can see here. Corporate network and result in a big impact. So if you click on this, The adversary trying to manipulate, interrupt, or destroy your systems and data. Very nice. But yeah, Linux is very important, like I said. Mission critical networks, and thus often targeted by state-sponsored threat groups. Linux is the prime target. So ransomware exists and impact organizations worldwide. Yes. We can see here linked ransomware is on the rise, with hypervisors becoming a prime target. And to learn more, check out the Varnish article as well. It's going to be yay. And shouldn't you learn Linux threats even if working with Windows? Yay. You definitely should. Yes. Linux will broaden your cyber horizons and make you see a bigger picture. Very nice. That goes awesome. All right, now text 7, conclusion. Throughout a series of scenarios and real-world examples, you should explore more complex, targeted Linux attacks. How adversaries overcome access constraints, how they maintain long-term persistence, and what goals they pursue. Many SOC teams skipped learning Linux monitoring, but now you know why it's a dangerous blind spot and are prepared to detect complete attack chains in SIM or directly on the host. We hope the audit practice wasn't too painful and that you enjoyed the Linux threat detection journey. Yay! Alright, answer the questions below. Complete the room. No answer needed. Correct answer. Awesome! We did it. We completed Linux threat detection 3. So we completed our Linux threat detection journey. Well, all the rooms. Associative Linux threat detection 1, 2, and 3. And also Linux login for SOC as well. For the module, Linux security monitoring. I believe I need to terminate this. If we go to learn, go to modules, it's going to be Linux security monitoring. Yes. And this is going to have the ones that I was talking about. Yes. Linux login for SOC, threat detection 1, 2, and 3. I have walkthroughs on all of these rooms, which I highly recommend checking out as well. Awesome. All right, now going back to, actually, let me go back to Linux threat detection 3. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the Linux threat detection 3 premium room walkthrough. I hope you guys had a lot of fun following my walkthrough. I will see you guys for the next walkthrough. Have a great day and keep up the great work. Peace.